More now on our breaking news. Western leaders have reiterated their support publicly for Ukraine in the wake of today's tense Oval Office meeting between Ukrainian President Zelensky and President Trump. Joining me now, CNN senior military analyst Admiral James Stavridis, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, now a partner at the Carlyle Group, a global investment firm. Good to have you on, sir. Nice to see you this Friday.
Thanks, Jim.
You, of course, commanded NATO forces in Europe. I wonder, what are NATO member states and their leaders, America's treaty allies, thinking tonight after this display in the Oval Office?
Yeah, let's start actually in Moscow, where they're not popping champagne because they're under sanctions from France, but they're breaking out the best bottles of vodka. Everybody's very, very happy in Moscow, and you see that across Russian television. Now let's shift to Brussels, where the greatest pool of allies, partners, and friends the United States could possibly have in the world, our fellow democracies across this transatlantic bridge. There is despair. There is deep, deep concern and sadness over the way Volodymyr Zelensky was treated in the Oval Office, the way he was simply, I think, ambushed by the president and the vice president in a display that really does shame to the Oval Office of the United States. I think the question now, Jim, is what happens in Europe? Let's face it, the spotlight will now go to Europe. Donald Trump has made it clear he wants no part of helping Ukraine going forward. It's a geopolitical mistake of epic proportion. Now the lights go on in Europe. They're going to have to step up and take this on.
As you know, Trump has not just warned Ukraine it's in effect on its own. I mean, he said that to Europe effectively. And the way European leaders are taking that, Friedrich Merz among them, soon to be Chancellor of Germany, is that they cannot rely on the U.S. to enforce Article 5 of the NATO treaty. Is that a fair concern on their part? Has Trump effectively, if not by signing a document, removed the U.S. from the alliance?
I think we are headed possibly, I don't want to overstate this, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but we could be looking at the last days of NATO. And this is a gut issue about who are you going to support? A democracy that's under attack, or are you going to support a dictator in Moscow? This is going to drive a wedge deep into the heart of the alliance, and it's going to bleed over beyond Ukraine, as you point out, Jim, correctly, as to whether or not the United States can be trusted as a partner. I think if I'm a European at this point, I'm saying I need bigger defense spending. I need my European defense companies to step up. I need to build a European armed forces. I need a command structure outside of NATO, perhaps embedded in the European Union. We could see the end of NATO and the start of what might be called the European Treaty Organization, ETO.
Is the U.S. safer or less safe without NATO?
We are less safe on the most pragmatic possible sense. Right now, our defense budget is $900 billion. China's is about $300 billion. Russia is $150 billion. Europe spends almost $400 billion a year on defense. Collectively, it's the second largest defense budget in the world. So for us to walk away from that and say, nope, we don't want to work with you. We don't want your help. We don't need those security pacts that we have. It's a huge pragmatic mistake, even before you get to the fact that the Europeans are the other nations who believe in democracy, believe in liberty, believe in freedom of the press, believe in all of the values that we hold. Final thought, they came with us to Afghanistan after we were attacked on 9/11, fought and died with us. You and I were both there in Afghanistan and saw it. To walk away from all that makes no sense, reduces our security. Isolationism will not succeed for the United States.
Well, we may be headed for a grand experiment in that space. Admiral James Stavridis, really do appreciate your time and your analysis.